TNT Open Mind Insights. I'm so excited to bring you here today. This is Stephen Hauschka. You're a former NFL place kicker who helped the Seattle Seahawks win a Super Bowl at one point, which is incredible, and I'm so excited to dive into your journey today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, I'm so curious because what really interests me about your specific role within football is it's that one moment. Like it's this one specific moment. It's not like this whole play. It's like this one moment that can be a make or break moment for your team.
Yeah.
And everything has to be working correctly in that one specific moment.
Yep.
And we celebrate the successes. We
Yep.
celebrate when you made that field goal in that moment. But there's so much more that leads up to that moment. And that's what I really want to dig into today so that people can understand what goes into creating those moments of successes. So this is a weird way to start.
Yeah.
But I would love to hear a little bit about maybe some of the failures that led you into these successful moments and how you got there.
Sure. And a great summary, because the intense pressure of that one moment, it was so obvious to me. So I played soccer most of my life, and when I got to Middlebury College, I was studying neuroscience, and I was trying to play soccer there, and I couldn't make the varsity team. So I pivoted and tried out for the football team to try to be a kicker. So I put on pads for the first time at 19 years old, walked onto the football team, started kicking and punting, and my very first game, I missed 2 field goals, and I made my very first field goal, and then I missed the next 2, and like the night after, like all my buddies were partying. We won the game. My buddies were all partying, having a great time, and like my mind was just spinning. I was just like replaying the misses over and over and over again. And I was like, this doesn't feel like what soccer used to feel like, you know? And it kind of was the start of this lifelong journey of performing under pressure and like everything it teaches you mentally, and you know, the fear of messing up and like, gosh, what if those kicks had cost us the game, you know? And I hadn't even really identified with the sport that much yet. But you can imagine after many years of playing a sport and having my identity start to get tied to it, you know, it even amps the pressure up even more. So it was a constant learning experience I had a lot of feedback to work with, and like I could see my mind just go, and it was like I had to reel it back in and reel it back in. I had to do a lot of work.
Where did you start? Like, you're noticing the mental processes that you could see.
Well, at first it was like, okay, I'm going to drink with my buddies. you know,
Okay, because you were like 19.
I was 19, yeah,
Right,
I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
So anything to make that feeling go away right at the beginning. But I had a dream to be, like, people were telling me, hey, you're really talented at this. You can go play Division I. My kicking coach actually said, he put this nugget in my ear one day. He said, you can be a professional kicker. He told that to me at 19. And
Really? I
was like, wow, like he's saying that? So I started working at it, and I realized, like, I knew deep down that the drinking or the numbing or something, that's not going to get me there. Like, I had to find a way to work with all the fear that was coming up. And, you know, pressure, for any person who works in a high pressure environment, fear, like, and pressure is kind of external. It's like the weight of the moment, it's outside, and people have varying understandings of what pressure is, and I think pressure is real. You know, from years of playing professional football, like, come stand on the sideline with me and see the coaches and the players, like, give every last ounce they have into every single play. See the fans, like, sitting on the edge of their seats, living and dying by every play. You can like feel it in the air.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's palpable.
Yeah.
And so to me, it's like, people used to say pressure's made up, it's in your head, it's just a game. And I'm like, no, pressure's real. And fear is the most natural response from being in pressure environments. And so, to go into the neuroscience a little bit, we have this almond-shaped cluster of neurons called the amygdala. And, when it reacts to something it perceives as a threat, it fires like in milliseconds unconsciously. And, it brings up a lot of stuff in our bodies that we have to work with. And if we don't ever learn how to work with that, it's going to be hard to get into our best performance states and perform the way we want to. So basically I learned early on, gosh, this fear is going to keep coming up. It's not going away anytime soon. And I got to find a process to work with it.
Mm-hmm. So you realized that you needed to address your mental state.
Yeah, it's a mental game.
Yeah.
A lot of kickers can go kick great in practice, but how many can go kick, when the game's on the line or when 70,000 people are watching? Or it takes a unique ability to focus in that moment, but there's a lot of work that you have to do beforehand to kind of clear out all the stuff that's coming up. It's intense energy that's coming up, and you have to kind of clear it out. And like, I started to convert it into the energy that I wanted to feel out there.
I love that. Yeah. And it's so interesting that you said pressure is external, because so many people say, no, it's all in your head. And it's like, but that's, we're all interconnected, and we're all like creating this energy. And I mean, even the game, we created this game together.
Yes.
The game doesn't really exist. We've created this, right? So we've created this shared reality where you are getting external pressures, but you do have the power to manage your own internal state, and that may be perhaps the most difficult part.
Yeah.
So you decided that's something that you needed to do. And then, so what did you discover? How did you approach that? I mean, it's huge.
It was a journey, but there's lots of milestones along the way. I would say, the pressure kept ramping up. I started Division III football in Vermont, where there was more cows watching than people in the stands.
Okay, so a little less pressure from the cows.
A little less pressure, They were very judgmental, but they were a tough crowd.
Okay.
But then I went to NC State, and then all of a sudden I'm kicking in front of 60,000 people, 70,000 people. But the expectations for a college kicker are, they're medium-ish. But then I go to the NFL, and the expectation is make everything. Make everything,
Yeah.
And so that's really hard to perform in an environment where you feel like you can't make a mistake. Makes you feel very tight, and everything feels like a threat.
Oh, wow.
Because, and it's counterintuitive, because the way you want to feel out there is loose and like comfortable and confident. Everything from the pressure environment, the coaches, the fans is saying like, don't screw up, tighten up, don't miss it. And I have to take all that and my own hardware that's activated, constantly. When I see the wind blowing, it raises like a threat alarm, because it's like, I don't want to miss the ball because of the wind. When I see the field conditions are really poor, threat alarm goes. When I see like a defensive lineman who's really good at getting through the line and blocking a kick, threat alarm starts to go. So it's just a constant process of taking that and seeing it as information, and then being like, okay, looking at it consciously, is this serving me in this moment? and like taking 5 seconds, 10 seconds to ask myself that. First, I have to name it. So whatever the fear is, you just name it. That one thing gives you agency back. Now you can actually work with it. Before that, it's kind of a nebulous cloud that holds weight over you.
Yeah.
And just by naming it, then you can start to assess it. Like, is this serving me? And a lot of times it's not. I'm going to be out in that environment anyway, you know. So, okay, if there is something that serves me, then great, I'll listen to it. But for the most part, it's like, I already know that. So now let's release it and let's get into my best performance states, which is kind of like this North Star for what it feels like to be at my best. Mm-hmm. And I use self-talk and breathing and like even emotional freedom technique. It's tapping.
I've heard of that.
So it's a lot of shifting states from like this fear-based state to courage. And courage is not like fear is gone. Fear's still there, but you take action anyway.
Yeah. Oh, I like that definition. I haven't heard of that.
And like the way, for me, as I did more and more work over the years, the foundational energy of courage was self-love. And the more I could shift from fear states to like self-love, the more freedom I had to perform and the more psychological safety I had to go perform.
Makes sense. But where did this sense of self-love or this discovery that was an important part of the process come from?
Yeah, through a lot of mistakes.
Okay, so you
There are a
make
lot of
mistakes,
mistakes.
then what?
Well, there was a few grand mistakes, like on the biggest stage. Early in my career, I missed a kick for the Vikings at the end of the game. We were 2 seconds left in the game, and we were down by 2. I jogged out there for a 44-yard field goal to win the game, and we were playing Brett Favre and the Vikings. It was still burned into my memory, for better or for worse.
Yeah.
And I was hijacked by the moment. I wasn't even there. They called a timeout, and my mind was spinning. And,
Oh, wow.
I was all tight and kicked it and looked really quick, and the ball went left. It was devastating. And I got released a few weeks later, and there was several, from that I learned the pressure is real. The fear is going to keep showing up.
Yeah.
I need to find like a real process that's going to help me get into stay in the states that I need to be in to like kick confidently in those moments.
And consistently.
But it was like, it's a journey, there are highs and lows, kind of got back on my feet after a couple of years. A really interesting part of the journey was arriving in Seattle, where in 2011, Coach Carroll was the head coach there, and the culture was very positive and enthusiastic and optimistic. And when I was inserted into that culture, the way I was thinking started to change. I started to think that the way that the culture was. And it helped me perform, and everybody, myself included, had our best years there because there was this obsession with what was possible and what we could become. And it wasn't a fear-based culture. So that had a huge influence on me. There was also a performance psychologist there, Michael Gervais, who I got to work with closely for 6 years, and we're still working together. He's a business partner now. We're doing work with 2 teams, the Seahawks and Bills, who are both playing today.
Oh, nice.
On the culture and mindset side, which
That's
is
so cool.
Which is really cool. And but I learned a ton from him, and he introduced me. I had done stuff before, but he really introduced me to mindfulness and like helped me develop a practice. And I didn't even understand it at the beginning. I didn't know what I was doing, why.
Yeah.
I just kind of trusted him,
Yeah.
stuck with it. And that kind of was the beginning of a mindfulness practice that I still carry today. Led me to floating, led me to discover Eckhart Tolle. Went deeper with the tapping technique, read stuff by Joe Dispenza and Ram Dass, and you can just go deeper and deeper with it. And, you know, through kind of those failures and those moments of like, honestly hating myself for failing and not doing as well as I think I could do.
So I think this part is really important.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people struggle with that.
Yeah.
You know, I myself had to learn to love myself because
Yeah.
I hated myself for so many years. Now I'm like my biggest fan.
Yeah.
You know, but it was a real process to shift that, and I think if more people could make that shift, there would be a lot more
Yeah.
mental wellness. So like, what bridged that for you?
There were several factors. One really interesting thing was the fans. If I made kicks, like they loved me.
Yeah.
And if I missed kicks, they like hated me.
Oh my gosh, that's intense.
It's intense. And I kind of saw that. And I was like, you guys don't even know me.
I know, what the heck?
So I saw the logic of that pretty clearly. That doesn't make sense. And then I started to see it deeper in myself. You know, like why I'm doing the best I can. You know, I'm putting everything I have into this. And uncertainty is a part of life. Like there's no guarantees in life. It's not possible to be perfect. I can't make every kick.
Yeah.
You know, I can try, and sometimes everything works out, and I do make every kick. But over the long run, it's not possible. And I think I just started to see that, you know, there's no amount of performance that was going to make me feel the way I wanted to feel inside.
Oh, that's big.
Yeah.
That's big.
Yeah. Well, a lot of us, you know, the people that, if you're a high performer, you know, a lot of high performers, the reason they get there is because they don't think they're enough. And they think that if they get better and they get better and they get better, that once they get there, then they'll feel better about themselves. So the paradox is that the people who don't think they're good enough are the ones that practice a lot. They work harder. They get better. They deal with the failures. They have the drive to do all that. And then when they get there, for some people it's not enough and they just keep going, they keep going. It doesn't mean like don't give everything you have, but there's two different games here. There's like a performance game and then there's an inner game.
Yeah.
And I got to a point towards the middle end of my career where I was trying to play both games. The self-love game like also helps you perform.
I 100% agree with that. You know, the self-discipline, the folks that are doing it to make up for something can get so far, but I feel like there's maybe a ceiling for how far you can get with that as motivation. But then if you can tap into the love and maybe even letting go of the outcome to a certain extent, then maybe you can go further. Like that's where the elite, elite shift can happen. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 1,000%. I think there's real science behind self-compassion, and
Interesting.
I
love that.
it helps, it improves resilience. Kristen Neff is a big researcher in the self-compassion space, and I've read her work, and yeah, it improves resilience, and then it reduces your identity threat. So, if you're a performer, all of us, like, I was very aware of my identity coming from soccer, and at 19 years old, switching to football. I guess I had an athlete identity, but I wasn't really a football player. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Because it was new to me, and it was just this thing that I fell into. And I was very aware of, even when I was playing professionally, like, yeah, I'm a football player, but yeah, there's more to me It's not the only
Yes.
label I have.
Yep.
But that being said, when I was finished playing football, and it was kind of a disaster the way I went out, like,
Nice.
and if for better or worse, it was a train crash. You know,
Yeah.
like everything fell apart. It was right around COVID. You know, I thought I had another 5 years in me, and you know, injury, draft kicker gets drafted in my spot, go play a game when I was kind of injured. I shouldn't even have played, and then miss some kicks in there, and then I wanted to just be around my family. It was disaster, and took a while to unravel the identity piece there. Like I had no idea I was putting that much energy towards it.
Yeah, I get it.
And so the psychological safety, like sometimes the more identified we are with something, the harder it is for us to go into an uncertain environment and
Yeah.
take a risk, even if it's in our best interest. Because we're so identified with it, we were so afraid of like losing something. And self-compassion gives you the psychological safety.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, my mentor, Dr. Mike, says, you know, when losing is no longer dangerous to you, then you're free to go perform.
I love that so much.
Yeah, or even when looking stupid is no longer dangerous to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I love the fact that neuroscience supports
Yeah.
self-compassion. I think that's really valuable information. I think a lot of people, when they're trying to make mental steps like yourself, maybe will first see the logical value of it,
Yeah,
but then at some point you're going to need to develop that felt sense or that feeling of it, of self-compassion, which is not something that you can strong arm your brain into, right? You can't just tell
Love
your
myself,
brain,
love
feel this
myself.
way. Love yourself, gosh darn it. Like that's
it's a
not
feeling.
going to work.
It's a feeling. You can't
So-
think your way into
Yeah. So how did you develop that feeling?
it. Unravel trauma.
Just like the rest of us, right?
It's on the other side of it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of love for all of us. It's something, you know, it lives in our hearts. You know, if you can put your awareness in your heart and you can feel it. Also, it's something you have to kind of allow in. You know, I know you've done a lot of mindfulness meditation. When the thinking mind can subside enough that there's just presence, then you can start to allow like self-love to come in, like deeper levels of love, like unconditional love for self. These are some of the deeper experience I've had since football, you know, with more time and space. But the pressure cooker of football kind of sent me on that journey
Yeah.
from the beginning. There was actually a really cool experience. It was kind of the culmination of all the work I had done. Fittingly, it was the last field goal that I ever had. And I was in Houston. We were in the playoffs. I was playing for the Buffalo Bills, and we were playing against the Houston Texans. And I'd taken a bad hit, a collision with another. It was a blindside hit. It was a cheap shot, and I had a bunch of injuries the previous season, and I was kind of struggling physically. I wasn't in the greatest form. And in the third quarter of that playoff game, my calves started like cramping up, and like that's the worst thing because you can't even kick the ball when your calves cramp. You can't point your foot,
Oh,
and like
gosh.
the ball comes out low, and it might get blocked, and all this stuff. And I know that, and like I just go into a panic attack. Like my brain's freaking out. Like, and I know it's such a tight game. I know it's going to come down to me. And then in the fourth quarter, we're down by 3. We're driving down to go try to kick a field goal to tie the game. And like it's 1,000% coming down to me. And I wanted to like run out of the stadium. I did not want to be there. I was like in so much fear.
Oh my gosh.
And I was freaking out. Like, imagine if you just feel like disaster's coming, and like the whole stadium's there. It's an important moment. And in that moment, like I realized there was nowhere to go. Like I couldn't hide. And then all of a sudden, like it was like love. Like it just came from somewhere. I was like, love it. Like love what's in front of me right now. Even if I feel like crap, even if my calves are cramping, like
Yes.
love the opportunity right in front of me. This is something I've always wanted to do, is like kick an important field goal like that in a playoff game, and here was the opportunity.
Yeah.
And so it was like, love the moment and the opportunity in front of me. Don't like fear it,
Yeah.
but like love it.
Yeah.
And then it was also like a deep love for myself, that even if I screwed up, I know like I could handle it internally
Yeah.
after the fact.
There's some freedom in that.
There's a ton of freedom. Like if you know you can handle,
Yeah.
you know, with every challenge comes uncertainty. That's what makes it a challenge.
Good
And,
point.
you know, do you want to go into that challenge like, oh, I don't know?
Yeah.
Or do you want to like go for it?
Embrace it. Yeah.
And so that kick, I jogged out there and I like shifted states from one of the worst fear states of my whole career, like a disaster was coming, to went through my process, and I was like jogging out there like, let's go, like I want this kick. The ball's going high through the uprights. And sure enough, I kicked it right through the middle of the uprights, and it was one of the best kicks of my life.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
not just because I made it, but it was how I dug deep and like shifted states in that critical moment, and then embodied so much courage in the face of like this fearful, high pressure moment. Like I didn't know in my heart that I could do that. And yeah, it was a really special experience for me.
Yeah. And now you're trying to pass on what you've learned to
Yeah.
other people about how others can shift their mind state, you know, with your, you know, your coaching business, your consulting business. Like you're able to take this whole process and share it with other people. And these processes can work for athletes, you know, CEOs. I mean, a student trying to take an exam.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone really can benefit from understanding their mind and knowing how to shift states
Yes.
so that they can, you know, embody the type of life and being that they want to have. So I love that we went deep into, you know, the emotional aspect and the logical basis behind it, but I'd like to hear more about your routines,
Yeah.
you know, the meditations, the visualization,
Sure.
like the actual things like, okay, I want to do this. I want to do what this guy's doing.
Yeah.
You know, what do you teach others that they can
Well, I think
utilize?
before we get to that, I just want to make it clear we all are hardwired this way. Even the top performers, you know, they don't eliminate fear, or they don't. It's not like they're never triggered.
I love that you said
You know,
that.
everybody is. It's how quickly can you move from that state back to like your optimal state. And so you have to work with it, and you have to see it consciously, because the fear comes in and it's unconscious. You know, it's like literally happens so quickly, and you have to assess it. You know, for a lot of people in life, you know, not only is this performance, but we also, if we're not consciously looking at our fears, we tend to avoid things.
That's true.
And when you avoid things, you're not putting yourself into a situation that's actually like might be the best opportunity for you. You know, so our bias is to avoid things.
Yes.
So like, in the fear like lingers as like this big thing in our mind and like holds weight over us. But then when you name it and you look at it and you take inventory of which fears are serving you and which ones aren't, you're in a better position to take courageous action like that's in your highest and best interest. Because when we avoid things, we just as consequential, you know, there's opportunity cost. And
Yeah, that's
research
true.
out of Cornell, 76% of people name things they didn't do to pursue their goals and dreams as their biggest regret in life.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That it's the
So
things
it
you
wasn't their
didn't
biggest.
do.
It wasn't their biggest failures.
Yeah.
You know, it was the things they didn't do
Yeah.
that haunted them.
That's interesting. Wow.
You know, so we got to work with fear. We got to work with failure, and we got to take risk. You
Yeah.
know, and we got to work with all that stuff consciously.
Yeah.
The processes I use, I have a little framework. I call it the RISE framework. this was something I unpacked. This is what I was doing when I was playing. Like it was something I was just organically doing because I had to. I was like, I can't go out there and kick and be afraid of every kick.
Yeah.
I had to find a way to get, super confident. And the first is just to recognize the fear. So like notice it, name it. It's super simple, but just that one step alone gives you control back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you can choose what to do with that information. Sometimes you do need to listen to it. Like sometimes we do, like wanted to go surf and the waves were giant and like literally huge down here in Southern California. I didn't want to die that day. I'm not that good a surfer. And to show how illogical the brain is sometimes, people text and drive, which is way more dangerous than something that actually activates their amygdala and threat response, So like a lot of humans are doing something that's, or like all the decisions we make around health and, our nutrition and everything like that. So we don't have the most functional like alarm system,
That's a good point. So first recognizing it.
So yeah, recognize it. Take inventory of what's going on in you when it shows up. Instead of just reaching for a drink or like your phone and start scrolling and numbing, just take like 5 seconds and, what am I feeling right now? And name it. And then the second step is to invite compassion. And just like accept you have the fear, accept you have that emotion, realize it's totally normal part of being human, and start to invite compassion into yourself as for the human that you are and that emotion that's coming up. And then if you realize it's not serving you anymore, you can begin to release it. And then from that kind of level playing field, then you strengthen your mindset. And this is kind of a North Star feeling. There's some work around figuring out what that state is like, but everyone has a feeling of what it's like to be at their best. Everyone can pinpoint one moment, that day I was at my best.
Yeah.
And as a kicker, I got so good at identifying that space where like, hey, if I get to that space, I'm incredible. Like I can run through a wall, I can make every kick, I can do this in front of 1 million people, and it doesn't matter. I'm going to be so focused. For me, it was like a feeling of being calm, like being able to breathe, being confident, like talking positively to myself, and focus, like a horse with blinders. The only thing that existed in the world was the football 6 feet in front of me. There's a million things going on that you could pay attention to. There's fans yelling, there's linemen over there, there's wind, and like my focus was just like laser. It's the only thing in the world right now. And then there's like a deep feeling of belief and trust in myself. And then the foundational energy of that is self-love, knowing I'm going to be okay with whatever comes up.
Yeah.
And then the last step is embrace opportunity. And it's just like with every challenge, like I said, there's an uncertainty. There's a moment of uncertainty. And you can't ever get around that. Like there's always going to be that moment of uncertainty. Nobody goes in knowing for sure that they're going to get a certain result. So in those moments, there's a commitment that we have to make. We're either going to like approach this challenge like as a threat, or we're going to embrace it like an opportunity and like want it.
Yeah.
Like, do you want it or are you afraid of it?
Yeah.
And so it's a final commitment to go for it.
Yeah.
So that's the framework. Now, how did I do that in real life? Well, I would do tapping, like emotional freedom technique, which is, kind of self-talk mixed with acupressure points, and you go through different points in your body. And I would do that process to get into, to shift from the fear to get in my best states, kind of through that framework. And then I would do visualization. And this would be the night before the game, the morning of the game, and right before the game. I would do mindfulness, breathing, meditation, floating, float tank. And then there's a lot of mental skills I had to learn too. There's a lot of Like there's actual mechanisms for how confidence works. There's mechanisms for how breathing works. And I had like an internal dashboard of, hey, how am I doing on each of these? There's this thing called the Yerkes-Dodson curve. And basically the more, it's like an upside down U. And the higher activated you are, like if you're at a 10 out of 10, your performance goes down, and that's like you're feeling super anxious, like, can barely even, you're so nervous because there's so much on the line or there's so many people watching. It's really hard to perform at your best at a 10. And if you're falling asleep at a 1 or a 2, it's hard to perform at your best there.
Yeah.
But like 4 to 6, that's when you're at your best.
Yeah.
So oftentimes in games, I find myself at a 9, and how do I get down to a 6? I have to breathe. So on the sideline, I'd breathe, I'd do, different, box breathing or like different nostril breathing to just get focused, just get myself into my body and out of my head. Then, so there's mental skills that you got to learn with all this stuff too. So there's a lot of preparation just for one moment.
A lot, yeah, and a whole journey. And what I love too about all of this is that all of this, except maybe the float, is free.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we're talking about working with your mind, self-compassion, tapping, and all of this isn't going to cost you anything.
Yeah.
It just takes the time. And I would assume too that you're going to have to repeat it. Like this isn't just a one-off. Like, okay, now I have a big moment, so I'm going to go ahead and do some tapping now. Like you've got to be doing these things multiple times.
Yeah, they're all part of the recipe that I was, I oftentimes like to think about, during my playing career, there's things I could do mentally, there's things I could do physically, there's things I could do technically.
Yeah.
And each one of those areas, I was always thinking about, okay, what's an area I'm weak in one of those areas and how can I get better?
Yeah.
And you're kind of like a chef who's got a recipe, like I need a little bit of, cinnamon in this one, I need, something else, some salt here. So there's all these different ingredients that you're putting together. And, but the coolest part about it was it wasn't like learned in a textbook. It was, it's not like somebody handed me a book. It was, oh crap, like I'm in the pressure cooker.
Yes.
And I got to find a way.
Yeah.
And so,
that's amazing.
Everybody's mind is different.
Yeah.
But this is something that worked for me under high pressure environments. And it's cool too, because there's a lot of insights that come from just being in a high pressure environment.
For sure. Yeah.
In a lot of ways, I wish everybody could experience it.
Yeah, so they could have the benefit of learning from it.
There's a spiritual side to it that's undeniable.
Yeah. And I know exercise is obviously part of it in keeping your physical condition, but like the mental piece, without the mental piece, the physical.
Well, the cool thing about playing a sport too, and I've noticed this with a lot of my former teammates, is the amount of time that they've spent moving their bodies has developed like a body awareness that's deeper in a lot of ways than people who haven't spent their whole lives training their bodies.
Interesting.
And when they have more connection with their body and how their body moves in space and like different parts of their bodies, they can bring their awareness into different body parts. Which is a portal to awareness, rather than like being stuck in your head.
Yeah.
So just taking your energy and putting it into your body and like feeling your body in space and the energy moving through your feet and your toes and your hands can bring you into the present moment.
Yeah, it's all more integrated and aware. So I'm sure there's many people that are watching this, they're going to want to learn more. They're going to want to figure out how they can use these things in their own lives. So how would someone learn more about all of these things?
Yeah, well, I'm building a website right now, so that should be up soon.
Yeah,
so it's
we'll link to it.
StephenHauschka.com, Hauschka.
Love that.
A lot of consonants in my last name, but
Okay.
people hopefully will find it. And on Instagram as well, Stephen Hauschka 4.
Great.
So, but yeah, I'm hopefully going to do a podcast and talk with a lot of high performers who have been in the pressure environments and see their experience, see what have they learned, how did they handle it?
Yeah.
What insights are there for everybody else?
Love that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I
Yeah,
could go
thank
on
you so
another
much.
2 hours with you, but this has been amazing. Appreciate you taking the
Yeah.
time and sharing your insights with us.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it.